Picture the exact second it happens. You go to make an account, something you've done 10,000 times in your life, and instead of a username box, a little window pops open and asks you to hold your face still, or to photograph the front and back of your driver's license. And here's the thing nobody talks about. The first time that happens, something in your gut flinches. It feels wrong. It feels invasive. But give it a few months, a few dozen sites, and that same request stops registering at all. You just tilt your phone, let it scan your face, and move on with your day. That flinch dying is not an accident. That flinch dying is the whole plan. Because we are watching something get quietly stolen and almost nobody is yelling about it. The right to just be a nobody online. The right to log on, spin up a random handle that has zero connection to your legal name or your face, and go read things, argue with strangers, poke around the web in total peace. That used to be the default setting of the entire internet. It was so normal it didn't even have a name. And now that exact behavior, wanting to keep your real identity in your own pocket, gets treated like the opening move of a criminal covering his tracks. I want to be really clear about how this actually happened because it matters. There was no single dramatic day. Nobody stood at a podium and announced that privacy was now illegal. That's not how you win a war like this. If they'd tried to ban anonymity outright with one big obvious law, people would have noticed, people would have fought. So instead, they did something far smarter and far uglier. They just made staying private slowly, steadily, grindingly miserable. They made it so broken and so inconvenient that the average person would eventually get tired and quit on their own. Think about how that works on you day to day. The first time a site demands your phone number, it feels like a violation. The 10th time, it's just mildly annoying. The 100th time, it genuinely feels like that's simply how the internet is supposed to work, like it was always this way. That progression from violation to annoyance to normal is the entire trick. They don't need you to wake up one morning and become a passionate cheerleader for biometric scans and government ID uploads and permanent account histories tied to your face. They just need to wear you down until fighting. It feels like more trouble than surrendering. That's how anonymity actually dies. Not with a giant law, with 1,000 tiny paper cuts, where the private option quietly disappears, breaks, gets buried, gets flagged, or just becomes too irritating to bother with. You know exactly what I mean, because you've lived it. A burner email suddenly stops being accepted. Your VPN trips some invisible fraud filter, and now you're stuck in an endless verification loop. A brand new account gets locked before you've even sent a single message, and every one of those little walls does the same job. It grinds you down. It happens to me constantly, and eventually most people just stop asking why. They stop resisting. They hand over the number, scan the face, verify the account, install the app, whatever it wants, and they move on. That's the real danger here. The web isn't only becoming less anonymous, it's training you to believe that wanting to be anonymous was kind of unreasonable in the first place. Now, the tech companies didn't invent all of this out of pure spite. This didn't happen because a bunch of executives sat around a table and decided they personally despise privacy. What's really pouring gasoline on the fire is a massive wave of brand new government regulation landing on the books right now. And this is where it gets serious. Take the United States. The House recently passed the KIDS Act. That's the Kids Internet and Digital Safety Act. And it is genuinely rewriting the legal shape of the entire web. And look, on the label, the intentions sound wonderful, protecting minors online. Nobody's against that. But the actual mechanics of how it works underneath are a nightmare for anyone who likes keeping a low profile. If this thing clears the Senate, then to comply, platforms would be legally required to throw out the old honor system age check, the one where you just typed in a fake birthday on a drop-down and went about your life. In its place, they'd have to run real-world verification. And real-world verification means, in plain English, a live facial scan or a photo of your physical driver's license just to open a basic account, and that's just the federal layer. Underneath it, you've got dozens of individual states rolling out their own copycat versions, so now your actual rights flip depending on which patch of ground you happen to be standing on. California's Digital Age Assurance Act, for one, starts cracking down hard on digital marketplaces by the end of 2026. And here's the pressure that makes all of it so aggressive. Lawmakers are standing over these trillion-dollar companies, threatening enormous fines for every single underage violation, which means these platforms have precisely zero incentive to give you the benefit of the doubt. They've been drafted, whether they like it or not, into becoming digital bouncers standing at the door, checking IDs. And the very first thing sacrificed on the altar of that safety push is your ability to exist online without producing legal documents. And if any part of you is thinking, okay, but this is just a few weird US states, you need to pull the camera way back, because this is not local. This exact playbook is spreading across the planet like a grease fire. Australia straight up stunned everybody by pushing through a historic law that bans kids under 16 from social media entirely. Full stop. But sit with the logistics of that for 1 second. The only way a platform can actually guarantee someone is over 16 is to verify the real-world identity of literally everyone trying to log in. Adults absolutely included. There is no version of that ban that only touches teenagers. It touches everyone. Then look at the UAE, which dropped its own resolution back in June of this year. It outlaws accounts for anyone under 15, and it explicitly says the single tick, yes, I'm old enough box is no longer acceptable under the law. Platforms operating there are now legally on the hook to deploy heavy auditable systems, government ID scanning, biometric matching, advanced AI age estimation, just to let you do basic things like leave a comment or send a private message. And over in Europe, France is sprinting to launch its own under-15 social media ban by September of this year. Same script, different flag. Every one of these governments is rewriting the fundamental rules of the web at the same time. And in the process, they're forcing tech networks to pile up an enormous mountain of extremely sensitive biometric data permanently welded to your phone number and your legal identity. If that sounds to you like the single most tempting target a hacker could ever dream of, yeah, it is not exactly a recipe that ends well. But here's the part that's almost darkly funny, if it weren't so grim. The logic of how these systems now see privacy is completely inside out, because these giant identity databases are becoming mandatory everywhere. The simple act of trying to protect yourself, trying to stay anonymous, instantly makes you look like a threat. Use a privacy-hardened browser, mask your digital footprint, try to opt out of the biometric checkpoints or dodge the automated safety filters, and the system may just flag your traffic as a bot. You get trapped in infinite verification loops. You get hit with sudden account blocks. You get shoved into mandatory phone number verification where you have to surrender your actual cell number just to prove you're a living, breathing human being. And the moment they have that number, the game is basically over. Your phone number is a direct wire to your billing address, your legal name, your real location, which means the thing you did to protect your privacy, be it verifying yourself, is the exact thing that destroyed it. The whole point defeated in a single step. So look at what the industry has actually built here. It's an ultimatum. Either you willingly hand your most sensitive information over to a tangled web of vague third-party verification companies, or you get ghosted and locked out of the modern digital economy entirely. And they're using the very real threat of malicious AI and automated fraud as the perfect cover story to decide exactly who is permitted to go where, turning the open web into a place where wanting to be anonymous gets treated basically like power. Step all the way back and the picture is stark. That old, chaotic, wonderful internet where you could just be a nameless person drifting around looking at websites. That's genuinely slipping away. We handed over the open frontier and got a sterile, locked-down environment where you're constantly asked to flash your digital wallet and scan your face just to earn permission to browse. And the most quietly brilliant, manipulative part of the whole thing is that they never had to pass one single law that outright banned privacy. They never had to convince you that anonymity was bad. They just had to make being private frustrating and broken and inconvenient enough that you tire yourself out and cave. And once that fatigue becomes the baseline, the scariest thing happens. The checkpoints go invisible. You stop even seeing them. Most people will never once realize they traded away something fundamental. They'll just assume the site is glitching, flip off their privacy settings, hand over their info, and carry on. The new internet doesn't need you to agree with it. It just needs you exhausted. And that, more than any law, is exactly how it wins. So, that's the first video. Comment, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.